Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Netflix's new Gothic horror science fiction film directed by Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein. Of course, he will direct a Frankenstein movie, which is based on the 1818 novel by Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. And in this story, in case you've been living under a rock, Frankenstein tells the story of Victor Frankenstein, who is an egotistical scientist who experimenting on creating new life that results in dangerous consequences. This film stars Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein. You have Jacob Elordi as the creature. Along with them, you have Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, Charles Dance, and many others. This is a film that was highly anticipated because of the filmmaker and the material that he is taking on here, given to us by Netflix. I was looking forward to it. I'm not gonna sit here and overblow it like oh man, I am a Frankenstein enthusiast. No, I'm not. It's not my go-to monster property. But like everybody else, of Frankenstein. You know the story of Frankenstein. You know the how it all came to be. And so I am a fan, and I can honestly say I remember reading the novel in school. I remember reading Frankenstein. It wasn't for an assignment or anything like that. It's just something that I read. And I point that out because I don't do that. If it wasn't a comic book back then, I didn't just freely pick up stuff and read it. That wasn't my bag. Or gun to my head, had to study something for school. But I picked up Frankenstein and read that in high school just because I was into horror and all that back then, and I was severely bored by that book. I was bored to death because I'm young-minded and yeah, not really diving into the story. I wanted to read a monster story, a horror story, and that's not what I got. And that's before I really got into the movies of it all, because the only movies that was an adaptation of the novels around that time was the old classic Universal monster movies, which I wasn't into because they were in black and white, and I didn't want to sit down and watch all that. But it was around the time that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein came out. I think Robert De Niro played Frankenstein's monster in that movie. You had Kenneth Branagh playing Victor Frankenstein. I believe he directed it as well. And it was around that time, and it was a big hoopla around the movie because it was a new take on that property. So I kind of got swept into that wave and read the book, and I was like, oh my God, is this what the movie is going to be all about? I say all that to say that, and I did like that version of it. Didn't love it, liked it. And so I say all that to say this. This movie had pretty much the same effect I had when I read the book close to 35 years ago, however long it's been since I read that book. This movie, as excited as I was getting into it or going into it, I didn't feel anything. But at the same time, I couldn't look away. I couldn't stop watching it because come on, man. It's Guillermo del Toro, man. I mean, he knows how to make a beautiful looking film. That's the star of this movie. The set design, the tone, the colors, the lack of colors, everything worked, and he is a master of that. Visual storytelling is his bag. I loved the world that he built here. He was perfect in that aspect of telling this story because it felt like it was a lived-in world. It didn't feel like they were on sets or CGI was a big part of it, even though there were CGI moments that you can clearly see, but um, that was few and far between, and it didn't really take you out of the movie. At least it didn't take me out of the movie. I really loved this world that he built. The performances were great. I enjoyed the performances. Oscar Isaac, wouldn't be shocked if awards start knocking on his door at the end of the year, because he gave an awesome performance, and Oscar Isaac is probably one of the most slept on actors in Hollywood. This dude does not mail in performances. Just look at Moon Knight, that's on Disney Plus, the Marvel property that came out. Probably one of the worst Marvel shows to come out over the last 5 years. But he was great in it. He didn't take that as a paycheck. He really delivered a pretty decent performance in that show, even though the show stunk. But he was good in it. And everything else, going to Star Wars, Ex Machina, and so on and so forth. If I go to name, and we'll be here forever, but he is excellent in everything that he's a part of, and he was perfectly cast as Victor Frankenstein in this movie. I felt him. He is the villain, and he's a sympathetic villain at the same time, but it doesn't make you cheer for him. At no point did you cheer for Victor Frankenstein in this film. You was just captivated by Oscar Isaac's performance to make you kind of like him, but at the end of the day, you couldn't. He was that type of dude. Jacob Elordi, man, look, my first time seeing him was on Euphoria, and he was the little douchebag, for lack of a better term, on that show. I always figured that he was going to be a breakout star out of that show. Everybody else is breaking out, but not really him. You don't see much from him, as far as mainstream. And this is probably the biggest project he's been involved in, and he held it down, man. I was super impressed by Jacob Elordi. I didn't know he had that in him. I didn't know he was that good. I honestly didn't. And I'm pretty sure he's been a part of other projects where he was good. I just haven't seen him. I didn't watch the Kissing Booth movies. So I don't know how he did in those, I didn't see, it was another movie he did a couple of years ago. Oh man, I wanted to see. It was on Prime, and I always told myself I was going to go back and watch it, and I had never got around to doing it. But that's neither here nor there. But he was excellent here as the creature. Christoph Waltz as another supporting character. I can't remember his name right offhand, but he was good. He was Christoph Waltz. There was nothing extra there. He's good. Christoph Waltz is solid. He's just solid. I never got the super big, I don't know, excitement about Christoph Waltz. I always felt he was a great actor, good actor, but never to the point where I was like, man, he's a generational talent type guy that, yes, he won 2 Oscars. He is a 2-time Academy Award winner. I would never take that away from him. But that's only when he works with Tarantino. But he is decent. His best performance was in Glorious Bastards, which he won an Academy Award for. That was probably one of the best movie villains of all time, without ranking him off the top of my head. But he has to be up in there. The one performance that I didn't dig was Mia Goth. And once again, I'm not a Mia Goth guy. Yeah, the X movies were the X movies. That's a franchise built around her, so she is going to flourish in those. But I never was a Mia Goth guy. I never understood her thing. Here, she didn't fit. It's almost disappointing, because I thought that she would fit perfectly in this movie with Guillermo del Toro directing this movie, I'm like, oh, this is a match made in heaven. But it just didn't get there with me with her performance. And it wasn't bad. I want to make that, it wasn't bad. It just, it was just there. And that character is supposed to hold more weight. And I just didn't feel it radiate off of her. Aside from that, the rest of the performances were great. Well, since I got one knock out the way, I might as well get another knock out the way. Going back to the creature, and this isn't Jacob Elordi. This is the direction and the writing of that character. I think Guillermo del Toro's love for this character took the edge off of this character. Now, look, I wasn't looking for a slasher movie. I wasn't looking for the creature to go in and just murder everybody and just be this unstoppable force, which he is. They do show it here in his glory. He is a beast. He is the most powerful being on earth around this time in the 1800s. But I just, they made him too sympathetic. You know, don't get me wrong. Frankenstein's monster is supposed to have a sympathetic, because he's not the villain. Victor is the villain in all iterations of this material. That's how it goes. I get that, but they just made him too sympathetic. At some point, you are supposed to fear him. I didn't feel the fear from his character. It like I said, it's not Jacob Elordi. It's the way this character was written. And I think it suffers a little bit because of that. Because you're supposed to be scared of him. You're supposed to be scared of him, and then you find out that, oh, he's a big softy. You know, that trope. But we didn't get that. It just didn't radiate that. But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, hey, is it watchable? Yeah, it's very watchable. The movie's 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think you could have shaved off 10, possibly 15, you know, because it was moments where it was just boring. It was kind of, I think he was trying to be a little too close to the source material, you know, hitting some points, but it's like he lingered on a couple of storylines just a tad bit too long, you know, some subplots that didn't really need to. You know, let's get this train a moving. It just lingered at moments throughout the film that it just slowed the pace off. I mean, this is already a slow movie, a slow story to tell, because you're being told, the story is being told from two different perspectives. I like that element of it, the way that was presented to us. And so you needed to have the story move a little quicker, and it didn't quite get there. But overall, I did like it. You know, it wasn't horrible. I mean, Guillermo del Toro doesn't make bad movies, and this isn't. He didn't start here, so he is still undefeated in my books. I just wish it was a tad bit better. Frankenstein, which is currently on Netflix, gets a letter grade of a B-. Strong performances, beautifully directed, beautiful sets, and landscapes and everything. Everything about that was great. Everything about that was great. It just lacked in a couple of areas with Mia Goth and the softball nature that he treated Frankenstein's monster. But besides that, it is a good watch. I would like to know, did you check out Frankenstein, and what did you think, and how does it measure up to the other adaptations of Frankenstein? I'd like to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if You're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Frankenstein. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.